Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another third-party unlicensed 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. Now today we're taking a look at the Premier Toys The Reptilian, aka the Lizard from Amazing Spider-Man 1 and No Way Home. I'm a huge fan of the Lizard. I've wanted one in 1/6 scale forever, so thank you in advance Premier Toys for making one. Now I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Do bear in mind this is a third-party unofficial figure. I have popped the link in the description below for your reference purposes only. This is by no means a promotional video, no. This is a review on a figure I picked up for my own personal collection. While you're down in the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon and join button so you're notified as soon as a brand new review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, it is very green, kind of like Premier Toys because they're a company I've never even heard of. I do have a sneaking suspicion, however, that they're secretly Toys era. Then we have a huge image of the figure himself, and down below, the Reptilian. Not the worst third-party name I've ever seen, but definitely far from the best. On the back, some warnings, a lot more green, and a broken DNA strand, potentially already corrupted by the Lizard DNA. We can slide off the top cover for a sneak preview, but y'all know we're not here for sneak previews, we're here to review the Lizard. A snap transition mid-unboxing, Justin, how dare you, such a cop-out, I know, but this box is just really tricky to wrangle on camera, and this guy is substantially heavier than I was expecting. First in-hand impressions are, yeah, he's one big boy. What we are going to do now, though, is get his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Right off the bat, you're probably noticing something. No display base, and I think I understand why. Because Lizard himself is so darn huge, it kinda tracks that if they were to make a display base, it would have to be pretty substantial to accommodate the size of the figure. Now, he does come with 2 canisters of the Lizard formula. It would have been a nice touch if you could have plugged on some kind of smoke effect piece to look like it's been activated, but nevertheless, I still like them. The middle sections are translucent green and the rest is gunmetal. I would have also liked to have seen the duffel bags that he stores them in, but I guess 2 Lizard canisters, yeah, it works. With no base and only 2 Lizard formula canisters, he's not the most accessory heavy figure, but he doesn't really need to be. I think the bulk of the value is in the figure himself. You do get 2 sets of hands in total. One set has the open claws, and you'll notice, because this was the regenerated side, it only has 4 fingers, whereas the other side, it has 5. I do dig the sculpt with the scaly texture on the outside and the lighter color on the inside, plus you've got multiple washers in the crevices. What we are going to do now, though, is get the Lizard himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. This guy oozes the P word. Presence. He's big. He's imposing, he's covered in green scales, he's got the torn lab coat, the proportions, in my mind at least, look on point to the movie. This is pretty much what I was expecting a third-party Lizard to look like in 1/6 scale. Is he perfect? No, he's not perfect. We've got plenty to discuss, don't you worry. But we're kind of in this golden age of collecting. If Hot Toys can't or won't make something, it doesn't really matter. Someone like Premier Toys will enter the fray with their own version of a character. It might be good, it might be terrible, but at the very least, if you want a character, you can be darn sure someone's going to make it happen. Up close and personal, kicking things off with the head sculpt first, immediately 2 questions come to mind. Number 1, does that look like the Lizard? And number 2, is it high quality? The answer to the first question, I think, is yes, this looks like the Lizard. He's screaming, he's got his mouth wide open. Love the way the skin is painted. There are multiple different shades of green. It's not just one flat color. His eyes are wide open. They look all kinds of crazy. But my favourite detail is this super tiny thin piece of translucent plastic that kinda looks like saliva. The answer to the second question though, is it high quality? Well, that's going to depend on you. I think it feels suitably high quality, but there definitely is a green skin tone mismatch between the head sculpt and the body. That could be enough to upset you and say, no, this doesn't make its way into my display, I totally understand. But for me, I think it looks pretty good. I do currently have him wearing his lab coat, but I fully intend to remove it because this guy's going in my No Way Home display and he wasn't wearing this in the movie. It does, however, have its benefits. It hides the elbow joints, which are kinda ugly, and the seams up at the shoulders. Plus, if this guy is going in your Amazing Spider-Man display, yeah, he wore this in the film. It's also absolutely filthy. There are dirt and grime spots on the lapels, on the sleeves, pretty much throughout. You've got tattered sections, and the sleeves have been completely torn away. Plus multiple sections where there are straight up holes. Now, I would have liked to have seen wires in the lab coat. Unfortunately, it just drapes on him, but it's a nice lightweight fabric, so at the very least, it hugs the body and it drapes well enough, considering the size of the lizard. What I mean by that is because this guy is so big and there is so much white fabric for the lab coat, it could have come across as though he's wearing a bed sheet. Luckily though, it fits him well. Now, the body does remind me of Hot Toys Venom, but slightly worse. What do I mean by saying that? Well, with Venom, the entire torso was rubber. That means from top to bottom, the finish was consistent. Here, it isn't. Only the ab section is rubber. There is a very clear texture and color mismatch between the pecs and the abs. Plus, there's a seam line where the hard plastic and the rubber meets. Not the worst thing in the world. From a distance, it looks like a natural shadow. It doesn't bother me, but it's definitely something to be aware of. Also, now that we've removed the lab coat, you can see the seams for the shoulders, and they didn't do seamless arms. That means this is great for posing and you can have the arms bent without having to worry about rubber cracking, but those joints are really ugly. They're also black plastic rather than green. I do like the sculpt for the veins and the skin texture. It's also painted well with multiple layers of color, although there are multiple paint issues on mine. Fingers crossed yours doesn't have that issue, and when you get it in hand, it's a lot cleaner than mine is. I do also like that the wrist peg gap is relatively small, yet still retains a decent range of motion, cause having some big honkin' wrist pegs would have been super hideous. Which is not at all how I describe this tail. I really like it. It's completely seamless because of that rubber ab section. There's no need to plug this in as a separate piece. Dig the way that looks. There's also a ton of that craggly reptilian skin, although paint error on mine, unfortunate. It's also fully wired from top to bottom. That means you can bend it and flex it pretty much however you want. And the best part is, it's long enough so you can use it as a tripod to prop him up in certain poses. Remember when Hot Toys Venom came out and people were freaking out about the hip design and how this rubber flap was causing friction and tearing away the paint on the thigh? Well, luckily, that's a non-issue here. The thigh is sculpted plastic and only this piece is rubber. That means if they do collide, yeah, I don't think there's going to be any issues with the paint. The paint, though, is good. I do like the subtle black stripes and the lighter color to the inside of the thighs. His knees, though, are really loose, and so too are his ankles. That means I'm probably going to have to rely on that tail to prop him up, especially because he's got no heels, so it's going to be really challenging to get him standing without the use of this tail, because he doesn't come with a stand. He also has these prickly nails towards the front, and some fully sculpted undersides of his feet. No definition for the foot pads, but more scales. Seeing as though I've referenced him so much throughout the course of this video, here we have Hot Toys Venom for a quick side-by-side comparison. Venom is significantly shorter than Lizard. I don't know if that's necessarily accurate, because Venom is a big dude, but Nevertheless, if you want a massive, imposing presence for Lizard in the collection, this guy definitely gets that done, as is evidenced by the Hot Toys Amazing Spider-Man 1 figure. By the way, this is a really neat pair. Finally, we have a Lizard in 1/6 scale to pop alongside this guy. These two look awesome standing together. I am tempted to maybe pick up a second one, have one with the lab coat on and displayed with this figure, and the other one in No Way Home. For now though, if you want to do an Amazing Spider-Man display, this totally works. He doesn't get a lot of love, but here we have Blue Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2. The two big bads from both movies, arguably Maxwell Dillon and Dr. Kurt Connors, standing together. I like the way this looks, but I'm hoping that someone makes the Green Goblin from TASM too, cause yeah, I want all the characters from both movies. This will be an evolving comparison, cause we've got so many No Way Home figures on the way. The Hot Toys Green Goblin with the hoodie, integrated suit Spidey, friendly neighborhood Spidey, amazing Spidey, even the deluxe Lizard base, and yes, we'll compare it to this guy. Upgraded suit Spidey though is significantly shorter, just like all the other characters we've compared to Lizard. This guy's one big honkin' reptile. Wrapping up on Premier Toys, the Reptilian, aka third-party Lizard in 1/6 scale. Going into this, I was so excited. I love the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. I reckon it's underrated. This guy was a pretty scary looking villain, so couple that with a 1/6 scale figure, I was all in. Unfortunately, Hot Toys weren't all in. This guy would have been really expensive to produce at scale with a brand new body, all new engineering, and they said, nope. Not worth it, far too big of an investment for a character that we don't think we're ever going to see again. Well, we did see him again in No Way Home, and luckily Premier Toys were up to the challenge. This guy isn't perfect, he has some issues and some pitfalls, but he's not all that terrible. I am more than happy to pop this guy in the display as my 1/6 scale Lizard. I would have loved to have seen a secondary head sculpt, maybe more hands, maybe the bag for the canisters to actually go in just like we saw in TASM 1. Nevertheless, I'm still satisfied. This guy is awesome. If you want something that has presence in spades, is big, imposing, and is going to stand out in the display with your Spidey figures, this is it right here. Now, do bear in mind, this is an unlicensed, unofficial figure. Hence why it's called the Reptilian. I got mine from toyswonderland.com. I have popped the link to their site in the description below for your reference purposes only. This is by no means a promotional video. This is a review on a figure I picked up for my own personal collection. While you're down in the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.